Grown-ups are always talking about the good old days and how things were much better when they were kids. But I just think they're jealous because my generation has all this fancy technology stuff they didn't have growing up. Believe me, I'm sure when I have kids of my own, I'm going to be the exact way my parents are now. Mom's always saying when she was younger, it was great because everyone in town knew everybody else, and it was like one big giant family. That doesn't sound so great to me. I like my privacy. I really don't need everyone knowing my personal business. Mom says the problem with the society these days is that everybody's got their nose on a screen, and no one takes the time to know the people who live around them. I don't really see eye to eye with Mom on that issue, though. Personally, I think a little separation is a good thing. Tap, 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 tap. Lately, Mom's been going around town with a petition to stop people from using their phones and electric gadgets for 48 hours. Mom needs 100 signatures before she can take the petition to the town hall, but she's having trouble getting them to put their names on it. I'm just hoping she gives up on this idea soon, because it's kind of exhausting for the rest of us to pretend we don't know her. I bet our ancestors would be pretty disappointed with the way we turned out. But once somebody invented the air conditioning, there was really no turning back. We've gotten so spoiled that pretty soon we won't have to leave our homes if we don't want to. I said no mayonnaise. In fact, the way we're heading, I bet 1,000 years from now, humans won't have spines. What really amazes me is it took so long for the people to come up with the idea. Seriously, I can't believe the guy who invented the light bulb didn't see the baby wipes coming. Dad says when he was growing up, the kids played all outside all day until they got caught at home for dinner at night. Ding-a-ding-ding, squeal! Well, that's pretty much the opposite of how my summer went this year. The other reason I signed up for film camp was to get out of the house. Ever since we got a pet pig, it hasn't fun being at home, especially not for dinner. But the pig learned to walk, and that hasn't been on its fours ever since. Just to make matters worse, my little brother Manny put a pair of shorts on the pig, so now it's like we're living in a house with a Disney character. Come on, I need to go. When I got back to school, it was just the same old thing. It reminds me that I've been in middle school for like forever. I needed to mix things up a little, or I was going to go crazy. So the first week of school, I volunteered for the Homework Buddies program. But the main reason I signed up for is to skip third period, which is music class with Miss Grisnio. To give you an idea of how long Mrs. Granizzo had been a music teacher, Dad had her when he was my age, and especially 30 years teaching middle schoolers how to play musical instruments does something to a person. I met my homework buddy not that long ago. His name's Fru. I had at least an hour of math problems and a geography assignment, which would take me another 2 hours. But Fru wiped through all of it in about 15 minutes. What? realized that a trip to Hardscramble Farms place was where I could go and not get my dad so worked up because actually I kind of broke his car a little. And he went on an air trip. So I decided to go on the Hardscramble Farms place. We found my worksheet, but we couldn't do it because we only had a few hours to get there. But the bag, so we used Roderick's bag. But the bag reeked because there was a half-eaten ham sandwich in it, which had something growing out of it. I was a little worried about the food situation at camp, and I was tempted to try and sneak a few candy bars in, but I wasn't sure what the penalty was if he got caught. So I just hid them in my sock drawer when no one would eat them while I was gone. When we got there, everybody else had a ton of gear, and I felt like I had underpacked. After all of our stuff was loaded onto the bus, the bags took up at least half of the space, which meant we had to double up on seats, which made the ride to Hardscramble Farms feel a lot longer than it should have been. When we finally got there through the main entrance, I was pretty relieved, but the last stretch was brutal because it was a dirt road. When we got off the bus, a group of kids from another school was leaving, and they looked like they couldn't get out of there soon enough. The kid in the back was holding a handwritten sign that didn't make any sense to me. Apparently, this Silver Scratch guy was a farmer who lived at Hardscramble Farms a long time ago, but the county kicked him off his land. Another kid chimed in and said he heard that Silver Scratch went to live in the forest where he survived by eating slugs and berries. Then Melinda Henson grew in, and she said he went crazy and grew his fingernails really long. See, I could have did without the fingernail part, because that thing really gives me the willies. The school must have decided to spread the troublemakers out so there would be more than any in other cabins. The only group that had more than one troublemaker was Mr. Nuzzy's group, but Mr. Nuzzy works as prison guard, so I guess they thought he could handle it. Since I registered late, I got put with a group of leftovers, which included Raleigh. I was glad I got assigned to the same cabin as Raleigh, but I wasn't happy his father was the Chapter 1. Mr. Jefferson has never been a really big fan of mine. I wasn't looking forward to a week cooped up with him. It was pretty clear whoever had our cabin last didn't bother cleaning up after themselves. One kid in my group, Julian Trimble, seemed to take the situation pretty hard because his lips started to quiver as soon as we walked in the door. I was kind of surprised Julian decided to come on his trip because I'm guessing he's never been away from his parents overnight. Julian was always the kid who made a big scene over drop-off time at school. Once in second grade, he had such a strong grip on his mom that the vice principal had to come down and peel him apart. Everybody started picking out their bunks, and that's why I found out where everyone had such big bags. I had just assumed the bedroom would be taken care of, but I guess that was too much to hope for a place like this. The closest thing that I had to my pillow was a hoodie, which already smelled like Roderick's ham sandwich. It was hard finding a mattress without any weird stains on it. I picked the top bunk because I couldn't risk being underneath Julian in case he wet the bed. Unfortunately, Mr. Jefferson slid in a spot right underneath me, so Raleigh's dad was now my bunkmate. We'll be back to this movie after these messages. By the end of the day, everyone was totally worn out, and I was really glad when Mr. Jefferson told us it was time for dinner time. The meal was chicken patties, corn on the cob, and stew. I passed all the stew. I was really glad I did when I saw Jordan pull out an entire taco shell out of his bowl. Who knows what year that thing was coming from. After our dinner, we went back to the cabins. Mr. Jefferson said that since we had been in the woods all day, we need to check one another for lice. Each person was responsible for his bunkmate, which means I had Mr. Jefferson. But Mr. Jefferson has a lot of hair, and I wasn't going to go poking through it. For all I could know, there could be a totally colony of ticks living in there. Dun, dun. You're good. Thanks. I used to play in the woods all the time until I swallowed a live spider. Ha 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 ha. We'll be back after these messages. Breakfast wasn't a whole lot better than the 2 meals, but at least they weren't starving to chew. The pancakes were as hard as rocks, though, and if you bit through it, your teeth would break. Clung, clung, clung. Elmo snuck a pancake in his pocket so he could mail it home to his mom to show her how bad the food was at camp. My group started off in the barn, and our job was to move the bale hays from one end to the other. It was seriously hard, and I have a lot of respect for those kids who have to do that kind of work every day. When we finished, everyone felt a huge sense of accomplishment. As we were leaving to move to the next station, Mr. Nuzzy's group came into the barn. He told us that their team's job was to move the hay bales to the other side, which was there when we began with, so don't even ask me why we had all that trouble. See, you shouldn't do that kind of stuff to a kid. When I was in first grade, my teacher told me she was sending me on a secret message. She gave me a note to deliver to another teacher down the hall. And every day after that, my teacher handed me another note to deliver. Well, one day I got curious what was inside these bunk notes, and I opened it up, but it was blank inside. With my book, we built a shelter, and we didn't even need my dad's help. At dinner, some other kids from groups seemed really shaken up. They were gathering firewood and came across an old shack that they were sure 99% belonged to Cell Scratch. This is where I was hoping Dad would tell everyone Cell Scratch was just a made-up story to keep kids from leaving their cabins at night, but he didn't. He said that when he went to Hardscramble Farms, a couple of kids went poking around Cell Scratch's shack, and they were never heard from again. We built a fire, but then the fire was getting darker, so I had to go into the woods all by myself to get some wood. Then I found Cell Scratch's shack. I opened up the door. It was just a shed, and it had a working bathroom, and some of the toys didn't even look old. I turned to run, but that's when I ran smack into Dad. He said when he went to Hardscramble Farms, the bathroom situation was even worse than it was now. Camp only had one outhouse, which everyone at the camp shared. When Dad came across the maintenance shed and he saw a working bathroom in it, he had to hide it from everyone else. So he made up the story of Cell Scratch to throw all the kids up. He gave me a ride home instead of me getting on the bus. And I saw another bus and I thought, maybe I just have to get myself ready.